Hey, my lovely, lovely, wonderful, beautiful, handsome people. A pleasant evening to everybody. If you have not yet made Jesus Christ your personal Lord and Savior, do so now. He's the best being ever. Certainly, that would be the best decision you could ever make. All right. Building productivity is a caption in the opinion and commentary editorial section, and I'm going to read that the government is developing a policy to address Jamaica's long-standing crisis of low productivity is on its face good news. But the administration is reminded this problem won't be solved solely by or an excessive focus on the sociological factors that impact people's relationships to their jobs. The issue demands attention to all factors that affect the overall efficiency of the economy and will likely require new thinking on, if not an entire overhaul of, prevailing orthodoxies in the organization of the economy. In other words, in the prevailing environment, various factors that influence productivity ought not to be addressed as discrete elements, but part of a strategic and cohesive whole aimed at achieving expected national outcomes. Put another way, whatever label may be applied to it, the circumstances and the times call for a national industrial policy that integrates education, skills training, research and development, R&D, innovation, and targeted investment. Agreed? By that and the private sector. By now, it is absolutely clear that while important, macroeconomic stability is not by itself sufficient to generate robust growth. Indeed, over the past 13 years, Jamaica has dramatically reduced the national debt as a proportion of GDP from over 140% to below 70%, and most of its other macro indicators are in relatively good balance. Yet while unemployment, hovering at 4% or below in recent years, is at historic lows, economic growth, even discounting the impact of natural or other disasters, has been anemic, generally at under 3%. In fact, annual average growth over the period of around 1% is in line with the average performance for the better half of a century. At the same time, labor productivity has been declining by around 1% a year, while gains in the broader total factor productivity have been minimal. So something is certainly off here. So even though unemployment has fallen and more people are in jobs, the average output of those in the workforce has declined. And also for me, yes, it is under 4%, but it's a kind of jobs are majority or even half high skill jobs that will attract investors, and let me tell you, you have quite a number. I don't even want to say people are loafers. Sometimes I think people are tired and fed up. They're tired and fed up. I know that feeling all too well. So if you're a high achiever and you're disrespected in so many different ways and you're underpaid, let me tell you, you're going to just lose hope and morale is going to be extremely low, and it can, in many instances, affect productivity. I may not be the one that will shirk or pull back, but not everyone will have that mindset. When people give up hope, but once there is no hope, hope is almost like the engine to stir faith. And if that is lost, boy, we're in trouble, which I think has happened for many people. So yes, the jobs, more people are, but I think too many people are tired of the half a loaf or quarter loaf. People want a full loaf. There are times they need that, and you deserve it, to be honest with you. You want the full loaf. Grateful for the half, grateful for the quarter. But sometimes your belly growling for the full, So, or as a friend would say, grumbling. As Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness told Parliament last week during his contribution to the budget debate, Jamaican workers on average contribute US 8.81 to GDP per hour work, measured by purchasing power measured by purchasing power parity PPP. With an average 8-hour workday, that translates to under US $26,000 a year, or less than a fifth of what prevails in the United States. Wow. But it is not only behind the United States that Jamaica lags in labor productivity, it also trails in Latin American and Caribbean peers, as was highlighted by Dr. Holness. Indeed, output per worker in Jamaica was less than half the average of its Caribbean peers, US 20.5, and of the Latin American and Caribbean region, US 21.1 as a whole. Further, on average, a worker in Panama, measured by contribution to GDP, is approximately 5 times more productive than their Jamaican counterpart. 5 times more. That's almost like a travesty of justice where we are concerned. That's really, really bad. But it is a reality. You know, I've seen people being rewarded for poor work, poor attitude, poor behavior, poor work, ultimately. And they're rewarded and treated as though they're kings and queens in terms of the work that they give out. You know, because you might say we're all kings and queens. Some people really don't operate that way. They really operate like peasants, you know, unfortunately. So let's continue. Compared to the Bahamas, the gap is 4 times. Jesus. While the Jamaican worker produces only 28%, as one in Trinidad and Tobago. In this hemisphere, Jamaica betters only Haiti. Like, really? Oh my God. No disrespect, but oh my God. Where workers' average hourly output as a ratio of GDP is, Dr. Holness pointed out, US $3.3. And to even compare with Haiti with what you see going on there, there's, you know, even Jamaica, they're the bottom, to be honest. Not bottom, but it's not looking too good for us, unfortunately. This is not a judgment on Jamaican workers, the Prime Minister said. It is a diagnosis of our economic structure. Fundamentally, he's right. I've always said this for years, though, that productivity is low. And we know why. We know what predominantly causes that. What I was shocked about is the number of people who have tertiary level education, that it's actually about 15%. I didn't know it was so low. Especially when the issue is taken in its broadest context. For instance, by most measures, and when I say 15%, I think he was who was speaking when the opposition spokesman there was speaking, Mark Golding, when it was I think it's as it relates to public sector workers, and you know public sector is a larger of the two. Fundamentally, he's right, especially when the issue is taken in its broadest context. For instance, by most measures, nearly 7 in 10 of workers are not trained for the jobs they do. That's a high percentage. And fewer than 3 in 10 are enrolled in universities or other forms of tertiary education or training. Then the man really right then with the 15 or so percent. The cause for this is obvious. Each year, over a third of students who complete their primary education remain either illiterate, yes, or can barely read or comprehend English and have comprehension, critical thinking skills in general. You're talking about the moon and they're cursing you out about a chair. They think the argument is about a chair. It's bad. It is absolutely bad. I've seen it. So they either remain illiterate or can barely read or comprehend English. In the Regional Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, exams, fewer than 1/5 of Jamaican students pass 5 or more subjects, inclusive of maths and English, in a single sitting, a basic requirement for the matriculation to tertiary education. Further, students struggle with STEM-related subjects, which are critical to development and function in modern and digital economies. What to say? Anyway, guys, you know what to do with TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe. Give me one of those lines. and you can follow me on Instagram. Have a good one.